Hi guys, this is Prashant from Wordpandit, and today I have a very interesting video for you. The source of the video is actually what makes it very interesting. I had a phone call with a student, a mentoring call last night, and I discussed a few things with the student, and that's where a few things came up in the conversation, and it instantly clicked with me that these are things that I need to share with a wider audience, and hence I made this video. The origin of this video is purely this phone call, right? Some relevant points were discussed, we shared a few things, and I felt like I could share these insights everywhere. I could share these insights with you, use the content in the call to deliver it to you guys, and so that you can use it in your prep as well. What is it that we talked about? One of the things that we talked about was, and one of the experiments I would want you guys to do it as well, is you start your section test. You take up one VARC section test, right, for CAT, and you start it in the worst possible way. Do this experiment, right? This is a thought and a practice experiment that you guys are going to do. How do we define the worst possible way? Select the RC that does not make sense to you. You cannot add the 2 and 2 of that RC, right? Select that RC, the topic that you are completely not comfortable with, you cannot understand, you hate reading that kind of content. Solve parajumbles without answer options at the start of the test, right? A question with extremely low value and low return, right? Difficult to solve as well. So you start with these terrible questions, right? The worst RC, the worst kind of RC to select, right? The kind of RC that you just don't like to solve, and parajumbles, etc. You start off with these. You take one test in this particular with this particular approach, with this particular format. Now, what is it that is going to happen with this particular test? You will see when you select the wrong RCs at the start of the test and you spend a lot of time, you read them, keep rereading them, select the wrong types of questions, parajumbles at the start, and when you take the test in this way, where you are intentionally trying to identify things which are difficult, right? Now what is going to happen is you will learn the art of question selection. You will learn the art of how to use the first 10 minutes. There are only two possible outcomes in this particular case, right? One of the possible outcomes is that you are able to manage, right, the particular RC, and you're able to navigate through the test. You've done the toughest thing first, right, and hence the test will get easier for you. That can happen. Or the second thing that is going to happen is you're going to screw up your attempt, right? You're going to screw it up because you would have spent so much time on questions that you should have not spent time on. You would have realized that where does it all go wrong, right? In either one of these two cases, you will realize the importance of selecting questions. Start using those first 10 minutes in a productive manner, right? And that is going to happen. Hence, this is a good experiment to run. So one section test, even if you spoil one section test, right, by picking the worst questions at the start, right, you would still realize the value, and you will probably at a subconscious level understand what question selection is all about, right? Things that give you a feeling that I should not solve this, you solve those first, right? So that's what I want you guys to do an experiment with. This is going to be an interesting experiment. Share your results and what did you learn out of this experiment in the comments below. Please make sure you do that, right? Next thing that we discussed was that what if someone does not like to read and does not really like to solve a lot of RCs, and you keep avoiding areas which you don't like to read, right? So you don't like to read, you don't like to solve RCs. Now what is it that you're going to expect in the exam? So one of the things that was shared with me yesterday was that the particular student, when he took the exam last year, he's taking it again this year, when he read the first RC, right, and he realized it was too difficult. It was completely alien for him. It was a difficult subject for him, things that he has not read before, and his mind completely switched off. And from there onwards, the paper went downhill. He was in no control of the section whatsoever. He kept trying the first RC, kept reading, rereading it, kept going through it, and realized that the section had gone completely out of control, right? Now, your effort at this stage, right, it's not only about learning a lot of factual things, right? So if you read and if you solve a lot of RCs, you expose yourself with a lot of contexts, you expose yourself to a lot of situations, you expose yourself to a lot of events happening in the world, you expose yourself to a lot of knowledge sources, different types of philosophy, psychologies, etc. And most importantly, you develop a habit or flow of solving questions, right? Whatever is thrown at you, you get into that habit of solving. So even if you are not scoring great marks right now, even if you are in this habit and flow, this is going to help you a long way, right? In developing that ability, right, to deal with tough content in the exam. So as I keep repeating, a lot of students come up to me and say that, oh God, we had a terrible RC at the start of the test. What should I do? Should I have skipped this? This was a terrible test. I should not have taken this. Actually, it's the other way around. As many terrible experiences as you have right now, and you read all these different things that you don't like to read, you are preparing yourself better, right? Because it's not about doing the things that you can do. It's about learning new things. So you do that, right? Also, imagine if you pick a wrong RC to start with and don't feel good with that content. What is it that you're going to do? You're going to carry that handicap right through the exam, right? So prevent that from happening in the exam by doing things right now. There are around 45-50 days to go, 45-46 days to go. Use those well, right? Read and solve RCs. Don't get into that situation where you find something alien and your mind goes blank, right? So the solution for that is keep reading. Don't put a lot of pressure. If you are not able to manage time, read a couple of articles a day, solve RCs, focus on that. But when you say, for example, when you solve RCs as well, then also you are reading, right, in a way. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about the number of articles you read, but just worry about executing and solving like a bare minimum of 2 articles a day, 3 RCs a day. That's a bare minimum that you keep putting in on a daily basis, right? Next thing, on a number of occasions, what happens is we keep thinking about the source of the test, right? We think about, and when I say this, when I say XYZ Institute, XYZ Online Prep, XYZ, etc., etc., any credible, decent source of prep, right? It effectively gives you some sort of practice. So for example, different tests, we've got the leading test prep companies in terms of test series, right? And we've got these companies who have these famous test series, right? So when you have those famous test series, right, the nature of the test might change. Some might have slightly longer passages, shorter passages, different types of questions, right? Different style of making questions. VARC, the style of questions, it varies wildly person to person, right? And we end up thinking too much about it. We keep collecting too much content. That's a problem in itself. And then we think too much about the content, whether it's relevant, whether I should do it, whether I should not do it. Decent prep company with decent sources. Explanations need to be good. Otherwise, it's not worthwhile, because then you will have struggle analyzing it. As long as you have decent explanations, decent support, as long as you're getting that, please don't think so much about the material, right? We just spend so much time thinking whether the material is relevant or not, right? So for example, if a particular type of material has long RCs, longer than normal as well, how does it really matter? Because that's also giving you a sort of practice, right? It's preparing you for, if you can do long RCs, you can do short RCs as well. And another thing with long RCs, for example, with respect to CAT, right? CAT has these really long RCs, right? Now with these really long RCs in CAT, the previous year CAT RCs are really long. Should you be solving them, right? You should absolutely be solving them, because there the length of the RCs does not matter. What is it that matters? What matters is, in this particular case, is you understand the mindset of how those questions are being made by people who've set the paper in the previous years for CAT, who've made the paper in the previous years. You understand the mindset, the approach for the questions. That is what matters. So it's not necessarily the length of the RC passage at times. Similarly, for different sources, don't judge them too harshly at times. Just make sure you, whatever material you have at this stage, you complete that, solve that, take in different kinds of experiences and execute. That is what matters. So these were some of the discussion points that came up randomly yesterday, and I just wanted to share these with you because I think these would connect with a lot of you. A lot of you think the same thoughts. Hence wanted to share this with the help of this video. Hopefully so I've made some sense today. Thank you very much for watching this video, and as always, happy learning.